Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for spending your valuable time with the Adapt 2030 channel. Check in on the Southern Hemisphere water vapor released by the Tonga eruption. Volcanic twilight still seen. Ash in the atmosphere, optical depth, 20 degrees south latitude. All the way down to New Zealand. We're looking for more water and cooler temperatures. New Zealand, check. New Zealand ski resort, too much snow. South America, extreme cold gonna dent into the coffee crops. Heavy precipitation, Chile, Argentina, check. Powder alert. Australia, center band, 20 south, extreme cold. Earlier in the year, deepest snow for opening. South Africa currently, Lesotho, blanketed mountains not seen, at least in several generations. Delayed volcanic spring planting, inbound. And if you weren't aware, I hadn't been following the eruption of the Tonga volcano up into the mesosphere, 1.5 times higher than Pinatubo back at the end of February. Pinatubo cooled our northern hemisphere, 0.7 degrees Celsius, so 1.5x is well above 1C. So we're going to follow the ash drift as it spread out, creating what they term as a mild year without a summer volcanic dimming event across the southern hemisphere. Backed up by now, a lot more data, so let's roll through some of it. Volcanic twilights were spotted, and they're getting much more intense back in the middle of June, signaling that volcanic aerosols had reached the bottom of the planet, South Pole for you and me. An image is out of New Zealand called the Afterglow, so you know that ash is pushing further south than 40 south. Optic aerosol depth shows you the density of the ash still up in the atmosphere. The largest plot, 20 degrees south. And as we step down in latitude, 30 degrees south latitude, 40 degrees south latitude, there should be some signs between 20 and 30 south of exceptional cooling beyond the norm and exceptional precipitation because it was a oceanic eruption. And now you see all the reports saying that the water vapor is going to warm the planet, but it's going to come down in snowfall and rain first. Let's look at New Zealand since it's right on that map, 40 south, but you'll notice it's quite that cherry color coming in as well. A lot of aerosol still in the atmosphere. Rain anomaly center, deep purple, 4x the normal. Blue, 2x the normal. In New Zealand, ski resorts unable to open because of too much snow. Mount Lyford, here it is on the map for you. You can chase down some of these leads yourself. Giant snow dump even a month prior to that, burying ski areas. That was in June, so you can see the progression, June, July, August. It continues. So you'd be looking for dimming skies, would you not? Bright sunshine anomaly. Center, not seeing much. North Island, yes. South Island, no, but that's where all the rainfall and precipitation is. Agriculture is going to struggle there at best coming into the springtime. Now moving over to Australia, 20 to 30 south is where you'd be looking. That deep purple, light purple again. That's about 20 degrees Celsius, 27 degrees Fahrenheit below the normal in those same areas. And we'd look for precipitation along with temperature. Here we go. Deepest snow opening on record. So again, we're getting the heavy snow along with the precipitation events. 2 times in 2 weeks, once in a 1,000-year rain event in Australia as well. That was on the news for quite some time. They didn't cover the snow, but I am here. Back in June, you see the progression. June, July, August. Down into southern Africa, 20 to 35 degrees south latitude here. Now Lesotho had the most amazing dump of snow as well. People flew from Europe to come down here and ski the resort because there's only one, and it's rarely ever open because it rarely has that much snow to open. But when people are flying from Europe to enjoy it, you know it's special. And a word from the sponsor of tonight's video. Steve Forbes warns a big financial crisis incoming. Meanwhile, the Fed raised rates again with the single biggest rate hike in 4 decades. Economists are forecasting that the Fed will panic and pivot, and they're going to start cutting rates again in 2023. Gold's going to soar. That's why Wells Fargo, Bloomberg, Goldman Sachs all forecast gold well above $2,000 an ounce. Ask yourself, do you really think big government's going to stop spending and the Fed's going to stop printing money? Call the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Mention the Adapt 2030 channel when you call. They're going to give you some great service. Patriot Gold Group has a no fee for life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold or silver, and you may qualify for the no fee for life IRA. On qualifying rollovers, give them a call, 888-546-7020, to get your free investor guide today. And with the knowledge that Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated IRA gold dealer for 6 years in a row, it'd be good to talk to them. 888-546-7020. And now on with the video. An off a snow report here. Free State. Depths of snow causing an enormous amount of traffic delays. Not that common. Eastern Cape just keeps piling up on the snow totals. At some point, it's going to have to be acknowledged and talked about. It's piling up in the evidence now that there's a huge amount of precipitation with rainfall, snowfall, and cooler than normal temperatures. So you can expect one thing, that agriculture is going to struggle in the beginning of spring down there, and the spring planting is going to be delayed by, I would say, a month this year behind regular normal planting. Problem is, when we come into the harvest next month in September, it's going to be very much below expectations and forecasts. That in turn will drive shortages, and those will be traders will be looking into the Southern Hemisphere countries as well. Like China's a big buyer from Southern Hemisphere, Brazil specifically. Those grains aren't going to be there. And once they understand here in the Northern Hemisphere, buyers, sellers, wholesalers, countries, warehouses, governments, whatever it is, that the Southern Hemisphere production is not going to offset anything if in itself trend downward and even add to the global totals of. Now, South America, this is a lot of eyes are going to be here in Australia. South Africa as well. They produce a lot of grain exports for inter-Africa. The extreme cold that you see right here off the GFS model is meant to destroy so much coffee that they won't be able to recover until 2025. So add another check mark in global shortages. This time it'll be coffee. And if we are looking for more precipitation, powder alert. This came off of Snowbrains. And if we're looking to stay with GFS on the forecast totals here, we're up to 4 and 5 feet. Late season, and the European models put it to about the same. On the ground reports here, show snow depth totals at the end of the season. And the northern part of the country is experiencing dry weather. And now you're getting this diametric opposite in the same country. But then it jumps over part of the latitudes and right into Ecuador. Record cold temperatures, that 3.8 C new record lows. And I like how they show you right down the chain there, record cold or close to it, setting monthly, daily records. And right along with increasing cold across South America, denting in. The progression of what you consider exports coming out is also decreasing. So Brazil, soybeans, export 8.8% down that's for the first half of the year. Then you follow through a couple other ag sites, and Brazilian soybean exports are going to be 5% below the initial estimates, which have been downgraded 3 times now. And Argentina corn plantings are going to fall 3% at the minimum, sliding. They've already anticipated the cool coming in, so they're cutting their losses. They're not going to plant and spend the money planting when they know their corn's not going to emerge, or if it does, it's not going to get the yield they had, bushels per acre, so why bother? So you need to ask yourself as a farmer, would you plant if you knew the conditions were going to be atrocious for growing? Now, it's going to be a gamble. It's going to be kind of a Wild West gamble here. You can try to put it in and get some yield because you know there's a global shortage in the grains and try to pull some yield out of it. Or would you just not plant because at the end of it, you realize that maybe the crop will be wiped out and it just won't be worth the time, effort, the ROI on that energy versus energy out. That energy being money. It's all money. It's energy moving everything. So how do you think it's going to pan out? I bet these numbers are going to grow with the non-plantings this year. But again, money's a powerful pull, and people may want to gamble with this chance here. And on to Climate Reanalyzer, the warmest data set on the web. For sure, hands down. An enormous amount of news agencies and organizations run with this because it is the hottest on the web. And when I look at the top left, this is their baseline, 1979 to 2000. So they have that data set and comparing with today's temperatures. It was a much cooler period back then compared to today. And the world temperatures, bottom left, only 1/10 of a degree over that average, what you see from 1979 to 2000. Now the northern hemisphere, 7/10 of a degree over, but the southern hemisphere canceling that out. And the Antarctic cooler than the Arctic 1.1C. So I made this prediction on Mike Adams' Right Here on TV yesterday that the understanding that the cooling in the southern hemisphere is going to hammer those temperatures. Watch for it. They're going to break what we consider a global temperature data set in two. And they'll say that the southern hemisphere doesn't count because it's a volcanic dimming and its own set of circumstances. We only need to keep looking at the northern hemisphere to get the global total of runaway temperature rises. So that's going to be something I can forecast out. I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but they're going to divest and diverge those two temperature sets as one is not valid anymore because it's cooling too much. And it'll only be one half of the globe that they're going to look at to get the temperatures. Because looking at Antarctica, Chile, I said, wonder what's going across the entire southern hemisphere at 60 south. And look at that band of purple going deep into the 10, 15, 20 Celsius below normal, all across the bottom of the planet. And look at that, trough after trough after trough heading way north. Is it going to continue to move through during the planting season? This is the delay. Those lighter blues pulling up to say 50 or 45 south, those are the delays in planting that are going to spin off. So how long is it going to take the global atmosphere to slow down on the cavitation in the southern hemisphere? That's what I mean by the delay in planting. By the time it stops the cavitation and slow down enough to get into normal, what you consider weather to plant, that's what we're looking at. And I also saw it on Climate Reanalyzer too. I thought, you know what, their charts are hot, but let's look. And if we start out at 180, 24, 25 Celsius below the normal, into that pocket of hot, into the pocket of cold, into the pocket of hot, into the pocket of cold, into the pocket of the hot. That's that trough system causing all these weather anomalies. And if we do look closer to the equator, northern hemisphere, that ashfall is starting to creep over. And it will be here as we visit our winter and spring of 2023. That's why I say you may want to get ready, getting some tools and some seeds so you can grow your own food. My Patriot Supply and Adapt 20, 30, 25 years shelf life. Emergency food supply. Definitely want to have some stored foods on hand too, in addition to what you can supplement and grow fresh. I appreciate you watching. Hope you got a lot of data out of here that you can share with friends and family that it's shaping up to be cool in the southern hemisphere. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.